5th. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is our regularly scheduled City of Tallahassee City Commission meeting. At this time, I would like to invite Pastor Rudy Ferguson of New Birth Tabernacle Praise to please join us and provide the invocation. Will you please stand and join me? Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's wonderful to see everybody. Thank you for joining us for our meeting today. As I did the workshop earlier this morning, I would like to start off with a few personal comments. I'd like to apologize to my colleagues, as I did this morning as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been brought to my attention and all of our attentions that recently during public comment, some of the comments are getting a little personal and quite honestly, not what we expect in the chambers. I am asking each and every one of you as a member of the public that if you come to testify, everybody will have the opportunity to be heard. But I'm asking you to please keep your remarks non-personal towards staff or the commission. And please be civil, and let's set the example for everyone that's also watching, not only on television, but around the world. This commission strongly believes in upholding the values of this community. We do not discriminate based on race, age, gender, or sexual orientation, and nor will I, as mayor, put up with any personal comments to that effect. I want to be very clear up front. We respect your First Amendment right to speak and always will provide the opportunity. But we can always do it in a civil manner. Please work with us in that regard. And commissioners, I want to apologize because as your mayor, over the past we've had comments that have made that I should have paid more attention and been a little quicker with the gavel. And from this point forward, with your support, I'll do the best I can to maintain decorum in these chambers. Thank you so much for your support. Mr. City Manager, do we have any agenda modifications by chance?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we've got several. Let me read them to you. The attachment on item 9.01 has been updated. Item 11.01 dealing with the appointment to the Planning Commission has been removed. The applicant is no longer eligible. We'll deal with that at a later meeting. Also, materials were provided to items 13.01 and 13.05 after the original agenda item went out. And at this morning's workshop meeting, you directed us to add an item related to the capital budget amendment. We've added that as item 1306.
Excellent, wonderful. We are now into presentations, presentation number 5.01, and I am going to call on my colleague, Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, for this special presentation. Commissioner, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to call for Ms. Lolita Brana from USA Dance to accept this proclamation. Whereas USA Dance was founded in 1965 to improve the quality, quantity, and acceptance of ballroom dancing in the United States, and whereas USA Dance serves as the national governing body for world dance sport, the competitive version of ballroom dancing, as well as organizing and supporting programs for the recreational enjoyment of ballroom dancing by all ages, and whereas members of the United States Olympic Committee, USA Dance promotes dance sport as a sport both nationally and internationally, including supporting national, regional, and local championships, and fosters its inclusion in the Olympic and Special Olympic Games. And whereas USA Dance Chapter 6010 is hosting our annual charity ball event open to the public to support the community performing arts and other not-for-profit organizations. And whereas USA Dance Chapter 6010 has 145 members and counting, continues to bring awareness to and promote the physical, mental, and social benefits of ballroom dancing and inspiring the love of dance to all ages, from our youth to our senior citizens of Tallahassee, Big Bend Region, District 9, State of Florida for the last 20 years. Now, therefore, I, John E. Daly, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee and the entire city commission, do hereby recognize the third Saturday in June as USA Dance Day. I urge all citizens, residents, and visitors to recognize the positive impact that USA Dance Chapter 6010 has and will continue to have upon our community. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You don't see me dance.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to present a proclamation on behalf of the mayor and my colleagues on the commission, recognizing June as National Caribbean American Heritage Month. And I'd like to ask Lolita Forbes, Andrew Chin, Renee Gordon, and Dr. Aquinette Bryant if they would join me here at the podium, please. All righty. Thank you all for joining. And his proclamation reads, whereas this year is the 13th anniversary since President George W. Bush proclaimed June as National Caribbean American Heritage Month. And whereas National Caribbean American Heritage Month celebrates the contributions of Caribbean Americans to our society, their accomplishments, and the bonds of friendship between the peoples of the Caribbean and the United States. And whereas historically Caribbean Americans have helped to shape our nation, from Alexander Hamilton, a founding father of the United States and first Secretary of the Treasury, who was from Nevis, to Dr. William Thornton, a native of the British Virgin Islands, who designed the U.S. Capitol and is considered the first architect of the Capitol. And whereas many Caribbean Americans have chosen Tallahassee as their home, they share their rich culture and heritage and have distinguished careers in medicine, education, law, the arts, STEM, business, and the armed forces. And whereas the city of Tallahassee and the Caribbean American Heritage Council acknowledge the contributions of Caribbean Americans and understands the value of the bonds of friendship, we honor local leaders such as Aquinette Bryant, Andrew Chin, Lolita Forbes, and Renee Gordon for their contributions and accomplishments. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Now, therefore, I, John E. Daly, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Tallahassee and the entire city commission, do hereby recognize June 2019 as National Caribbean American Heritage Month. I ask our citizens to join in the celebration and participate in activities related to National Caribbean American Heritage Month. Signed by the mayor of Tallahassee, John E. Daly, on this day, June 5th, 2019. Let's give them a hand. One of you like to make some remarks? Yeah, all right. They're shy. Let's take a picture.
Hold on, I want to get.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask you to stay at the podium, and I'd like to invite Miss Allison Payne and the members of the Florida League of Cities to come forward to the podium for a special presentation.
Thank you. Allison Payne, I'm with the Florida League of Cities, and one of the top priorities of the Florida League of Cities is to represent the interests of Florida's 412 cities before the Florida legislature. After each legislative session, we like to take a moment to recognize those city officials who really went above and beyond in responding to the many legislative alerts that we send out throughout session, and recognize those folks that stay in constant communication with their senators and representatives, and make sure that they know the impacts the legislation that these members consider and how it impacts cities and their citizens back home in the district. So it is my pleasure and honor to recognize our mayor, John Daly, as a champion. We call our Florida League of Cities Home Rule Hero for 2019, and to present him with this award and a special pin, and to humbly thank you for all your efforts representing all the needs of Florida cities. You have the direct access across the street, and we greatly appreciate all your efforts in defending home rule with the Florida legislature. So with that, I would... Okay.
Just a quick, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, while I'm here.
Okay.
Florida League of Cities is an amazing organization. This is an amazing young lady right here. Over, 25 years ago, my first job out of college was with the Florida League of Cities, working for Ms. Payne. We have been very good friends ever since. The League of Cities is a wonderful organization. It represents all 412 municipalities in the state of Florida. And because we are the capital city, we have the Florida League of Cities based right here in Tallahassee. It's very important that we play host to all of our municipalities as they come to Tallahassee, and I join my colleagues in hosting you for Legislative Action Day right here in these chambers. This is truly an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Very good.
Mr. City Manager, do we have any announcements?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, we are at that point in the meeting where we ask for citizen input on agenda items. If you would like to speak at this point in the meeting, we would love to have citizen input. If you would like to wait until the actual agenda item, you will also have an opportunity to speak as well. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, please work with us, the utmost of civility, when you're presenting your issues before this commission as well. Mr. Treasurer Cook, do we have any, Treasurer Clerk, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak?
Mayor, we do have several speakers. Most of them have indicated they'd like to speak when the item comes up.
Okay.
But we do have Tim Alborg will be our first speaker on item 1201, which is an introduction of ordinance but relates to the scooter pilot program.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Then he'll come at item, and then our only other speaker at this portion of the meeting is Stanley Sims, item 1306.
Mr. Sims, good to see you. Your name and address for the record, and 3 minutes, please, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Stanley Sims. Congratulations on being a hometown hero.
Thank you.
The Apostle Paul said to shun even the very appearance of evil. And my grandmother used to always tell me, and she only had a 8th grade education, but she had, in my opinion, a PhD in life. She would say, son, you may not like the man that sit in the chair, but respect the chair. And so your words today about us coming and being civil, I felt it pricked my heart. And so I'm boastfully to tell someone when I feel like they've wronged me, I think I need to have that same mega voice in lieu of someone thinking that I have wronged them. Also, I wanted to say, I wanted to do a shout out to Commissioner Cox, the lady at Independent Living said thank you. And I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Robert Bergnan. Wigden?
Wiggin.
Yeah, I call him Wiggy. He did such an excellent job on, not this morning, but the other. He took the recommendation of Ms. Cox in using those 8th and 9th grade language, and people were able to follow him in the budget process. And so I'm just asking Mr. City Manager if you'll start reflecting that language to some of these other people. It was very effective. And so people are really watching, and using plain, simple language was something that was very beneficial. And I wanted to share that with you. And also, there is a very strong collaborative effort about bringing crime down in our community. And that affects me, maybe more than what it should. But I got 2 black children. One is still in this city. And I just want to share this with you, Mayor. I got in my son's car the other day, and his music was up so loud. And then it started playing. And you know, I found out, Mayor, that they have the clean version and the unclean version. So they play the clean version when you're in there, and they play the unclean when you ain't in there. And I had to sit then and have that talk with my son and let him know that just this music here aloud can attract the wrong attention.
You're at about 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, I like that notice. And this can attract the wrong attention. And now that we have heavy police force in our community, be cognizant of your surroundings and of your actions. And I'm asking all parents out there, of all children of all colors, please talk to your children while we have a heavy law enforcement presence in our community, which I welcome, City Manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers at this time?
We do not.
Moving on, do we have any appearances by other boards, committees, or other governmental entities, Mr. City Manager?
No, Mr. Mayor.
We are on the consent agenda. Are there any items that have been removed from the consent?
No, sir.
It's been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Dr. Bryant. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously. We are now on City Commission 11.02, update on the city audit recruitment. I will turn it over to you, Mr. Manager, and Mrs. Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to ask our HR Director, Ellen Blair, to come forward to give you a brief update. I think you're well informed of the process. Interviews are scheduled very soon. For the benefit of everybody, I'd like Ellen to go over the process. Also, I'd like to recognize the chairman of the review committee, Matt Hansard. He's here. Matt, if you'll stand up, thank you for your service. That's been instrumental in identifying a good pool of candidates. So with that, I turn it over to Ellen to just give a brief overview of the process.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commission. Ellen Blair, Human Resources. Just briefly, as you know, we did a national recruitment at various industry sites for the position of the city auditor. You had appointed a citizen review committee. We have met with that committee, and the committee had decided to move candidates forward for your review. Those interviews are set up on your schedule for next Monday and Tuesday. At the end of that process, we expect to have an hour or so set aside for your deliberation and possibly a recommendation or a decision to move forward with offering a position.
Wonderful.
Happy to answer
Any questions for Ms. Blair? I, too, want to say thank you to the chair for a wonderful job. Really do appreciate it. It's a very important process and decision to be made. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Ellen. We are now at the introduction of ordinances. Commissioners, we have got a long list of ordinances that need to be read into the record. So I am just going to turn it over to the city attorney, let her do her thing, and we will go from there. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Jackson, thank you.
And we will have one speaker on the very first item on this list.
Item number 12.01 is the introduction of ordinance number 19-0-15, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending Chapter 17, Article 4 of the General Code of the City of Tallahassee to regulate a dockless shared motorized scooter pilot program. providing for purpose and applicability, providing for definitions, providing for a pilot program for shared motorized scooters on the public rights of ways, providing for the vendor's responsibilities and obligations in operating a shared motorized scooter system, providing for a shared motorized scooter specifications, providing for the operation and parking of a shared motorized scooter, providing for impoundment or removal or relocating by the city, providing for enforcement, fees, and penalties, providing appellate rights, providing for indemnification and insurance, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for June 19, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Smith-Williams Service Center. If there are speakers to speak at this time, they can come forward.
The one speaker I have on this item is Tim Alborg. As with the earlier speaker, 3 minutes for your remarks, and name and address to get started, please.
Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. My name's Tim Alborg, address 450 Mission Street, San Francisco, 94105.
Welcome to the East Coast.
Thank you. I'm enjoying the humidity so far. Good afternoon. I'm here to speak on the scooter pilot ordinance. As I said, my name's Tim Alborg. I'm the Director of Government Partnerships for SPIN. And as you may know, SPIN became part of the Ford Motor Company last year. We strongly support the rights of cities such as Tallahassee to regulate your own streets and sidewalks. In fact, SPIN was the only scooter company that is at the Capitol this session, fighting preemption language that would have taken away Tallahassee's right to regulate your own streets when it comes to scooters. Please feel free to reach out to Jeff Branch at the Florida League of Cities if you'd like further details on SPIN's role at the Capitol this past session, but I'm really happy that you're having your first reading of the scooter ordinance today and making a decision later this month. At SPIN, we're bound by a partnership promise, and what this means is we don't launch until we have permission from the city to do so. We hope to be selected as a provider here in Tallahassee for the scooter pilot, but we ask that you look at our track record, both in Tampa and Coral Gables here in the state of Florida. We're mostly supportive of the pilot as it's currently being envisioned right now, but we'd like to suggest a couple of tweaks. And the first one is that we find sometimes the most challenging situation in cities is that there's an oversaturation of companies and scooters. So for this reason, we believe Tallahassee is best served by limiting the number of vendors to fewer than 3. There are many reasons for limiting the number of vendors, but the primary one would be that working with fewer companies ensures a more collaborative partnership and allows the city to test scooter sharing and how it best serves the residents and visitors of Tallahassee. We often see delayed responses from companies in cities where there are multiple providers that are allowed to operate. And, we also find that sometimes the responsiveness from the companies is not there as well. Next, we'd like to request that the program be extended to be a 6-month pilot rather than a 3-month pilot, and that the start date be changed to mid-August rather than mid-July. If we can make that change, we'll have additional time to partner with some of the universities here in town so that the students can benefit in the fall when they come back. Finally, we have some concerns about the insurance and indemnification requirements of the pilot. I will just quickly summarize and say that we think that they're overly broad, but I'm happy to send an email to y'all after this meeting to give you what our suggested changes would be. So thanks so much for providing SPIN with an opportunity to speak today. We hope that we earn the right to partner with you on this pilot. And in closing, I have copies of our company's RFI submission that we submitted electronically today. So if I could come up and present the commission with that, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'll accept that for the record.
Sounds great. Okay, Madam Attorney, would you like to move forward with
Yes.
12.02?
Let the record reflect that the ordinance number 19-0-15 has been introduced. Item number 12.02, introduction of ordinance number 19-0-19, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Tallahassee amending sections 10, 12, 13, 24, 27, 29, 45, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, and 65 of the Charter of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, changing these sections to reflect gender neutrality, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for June 19, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Smith-Williams Service Center. Are there any speakers?
There are none.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the ordinance has been introduced. Item number 12.03, introduction of ordinance number 19-0-20, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, creating Article 6 of Chapter 9 in the Code of General Ordinances related to graffiti abatement, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for June 19, 2019, at 6:00 p.m. at the Smith Williams Service Center. Are there any speakers?
There are none. Any remaining speakers are on policy items following introduction of ordinances.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the ordinance was introduced. Item number 12.04 is introduction of ordinance number 19-Z-08, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending the Appalachia East Phase 2 Plan Unit Development Concept Plan on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee adopted and established by the City Commission, providing for conflicts and providing for severability and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for July 10, 2019, at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall. Let the record reflect that the ordinance was introduced. Item number 12.05 is introduction of ordinance number 12-Z-14, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending the Southwood Plan Unit Development on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for June 19, 2019, at 6:00 p.m. at the Smith Williams Service Center. Let the record reflect that the ordinance was introduced. Item number 12.06, there is a modification of title on this ordinance. Introduction of ordinance number 19-Z-16, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending the Cross Creek Plan Unit Development on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for July 10, 2019, at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall. Let the record reflect that the ordinance was introduced. That is the end of the introduction of ordinances.
Wonderful. Colleagues, do you have any questions? Seeing none, moving on. We are on policy formation and direction, 13.01.
Thank you, Mr.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to invite our Chief Customer Officer, James Barnes, forward to provide a very brief presentation. But as we all know, we're off to a really fast start to summer. We've had near record temperatures, and we've had record usage for electric and water. And we feel it appropriate to recommend a program to help our customers with their bills. And so I'd like to ask Mr. Barnes to give us an outline of our recommendation and seek your approval.
Good afternoon, mayors and commissioners and appointed officials. Wanted to bring to you today a brief overview about our Winter Relief Assistance Program, better known as WRAP. It is a one-of-a-kind program that the City of Tallahassee would like to offer and seeking your approval today. As you know, we've been in this heat wave, and it's been hot. And with the hot heat that we've had, customers been calling, inquiring about relief from electric bills, and that's been coinciding with an increase in water consumption as we've been in a drought. This program will allow customers to defer 25% of their utility bill up to October, where there's naturally a relief because of the weather pattern change. With that, they can then be able to afford and manage their utility consumptions throughout the months of June, July, August, and September. It actually, all residential customers qualify. It's for small, non-demand commercials as well. And what we would like to do is offer this program effective with the May 27th bill date through September the 30th. This, along with other tools that when they call 891 for you, can provide assistance with it, whether it be budget billing, and then the representatives can also offer energy audit as well. We're seeking your approval today to go ahead and offer the Deferred Weather Relief Assistance Program for customers and to move forward with the program. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
I move we accept staff recommendation to move forward with the program, Mr. Mayor.
Sounds great. Properly seconded by Commissioner Matlow. Commissioner Matlow, did you have a question? I know Dr. Bryant does.
I just had a few comments.
Okay, sure.
First off, thank you for your efforts. We all know it's been very hot for May, and we also know our paychecks don't go up just because our utility bills do. So, I mean, we're very, very fortunate in Tallahassee to own our own utility and be able to look out for each other, look out for our neighbors. So, for you guys to just step up and try to do what's right for our community. It should be commended, and we thank you for it.
Wonderful. Commissioner Bryant.
Ditto.
Excellent. Option number one's been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Matlow. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. Number 13.02, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Commissioners, I'm very pleased to present you a proposed parental leave policy. This is a topic that you discussed several meetings ago, and you asked staff to explore the expansion of our maternity leave benefit that was encapsulated in our catastrophic leave policy, which obviously applied to mothers of newborns. We have surveyed the industry, surveyed what others are doing, not limited to the public sector, but including the private sector, and there is a strong trend to extend parental leave benefits for newborns and adopted children to both parents. And we are recommending to you, by way of a new policy, that we do just that. We provide 6 weeks of paid leave that would be separate and apart from our catastrophic leave policy that was previously used for maternity leave. We recommend your approval of this, and our HR Director, Ellen Blair, is here to answer any questions that you might have. I would note that this policy would not apply to our collective bargaining units, as their benefits, their compensatory benefits are part of an agreement. So that would be included in the next iteration of their bargaining agreements.
Wonderful. Do we have any public comment on this, Mr. Treasurer Clerk?
We do not.
Well, let me just open by saying I am very excited to see this policy come before us. This is something that I've been wanting to work on for quite some time, and I appreciate the city manager joining me and working hard on this. This is how we set the example, and this is how we move forward. And with that, I'll open it up, Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I move acceptance of the staff recommendation.
It's been properly moved by Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Bryant. Any further comment? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously 5-0. We are on item number 13.03. Mr. City Manager.
I would like to invite Deputy City Manager Cynthia Barber forward to provide us a quick summary of this. This is a topic that is so important to our ultimate construction of a new police facility, and I'd like her to share a few words and outline where we are.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and appointed officials. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a very brief status update on where we are on the public safety campus. As you might recall, the architectural design services was presented to you last fall, and during that discussion, you directed staff to, based upon there being insufficient feedback from the public regarding the parcel that was being recommended, and the fact that the selected vendor had only bid on a particular site. You asked us to go back and issue another RFQ for the project. We've done that, and today we're asking for your authorization to proceed with contract negotiations with ADG, the top-rated vendor for architecture and engineering services. And then additionally, I'd like to give you a very brief update on where we are with the construction management component of the project. We are as you know, we have engaged the public in soliciting additional sites for where the public safety campus might be located. The construction manager is in the initial phases of contacting the property owners for all the various parcels that were recommended by the public to determine their interest in moving forward as a part of the project. And generally speaking, they'll be looking at properties that are within 2.5 miles of the city center and at least 9 acres or larger in size. The construction manager then will evaluate those sites. For those that are interested in remaining on the list, will evaluate those sites based on the technical criteria which we shared during our last meeting. We'll come back and recommend to you 5 to 10 sites for your consideration. We anticipate doing that at the July 10th commission meeting. And then based on the additional feedback that you would provide, we would go back, have the construction manager evaluate those sites even further, get additional citizen feedback now that we have a more narrow list, and then try to bring back to you narrow it down to approximately 3 sites and bring back to you the recommendations based upon the citizens' input and the evaluation against the criteria which you've already seen and approved. And unless you have any questions, that concludes our update.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions? I do have a question. Any problems with the process?
No problems with the process.
Any protest to the final outcome recommendation?
No protest.
Excellent. Properly moved by Commissioner Bryant, seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes 5-0 unanimously. Before we move to 13.04, I'd like to recognize the city attorney.
Thank you. I got a little too excited and missed one introduction. So item number 12.07, introduction of ordinance number 19-Z-17, an ordinance of the city of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as and in general commercial C2 of the official zoning map of the city of Tallahassee adopted and established by the city commission, providing for conflicts and severability and providing an effective date. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for July 10, 2019 at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall. Let the record reflect that the ordinance was introduced.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any public comment?
No, sir.
Wonderful. We'll move on to 13.04. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Item 13.04 involves our recommendation to approve the top-ranked vendor for the architectural and engineering services design for our new senior center, something we're very excited about. The process received 8 responses, and the highest-ranked vendor is EMO and GRC. That's the selection committee's top-ranked vendor. Ashley Edwards, our Parks and Recreation Director, is here to answer any questions, and we recommend that you approve option 1.
Do we have any public comment on this item, Mr. Clerk?
There are no public speakers.
Wonderful. Just quick question, same questions as before. Any problems with the process?
No, sir.
Any protest to the final selection and recommendation?
No, sir.
Any comments from my colleagues?
Move recommendation.
Mayor Pro Tem has properly moved the recommendation of option number 1, seconded by Commissioner Matlow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. Before we open up to 13.05, I want to go ahead and announce, as I have done previously, that I have a perceived conflict of interest on this particular item. I will be passing the gavel to the Mayor Pro Tem and leaving the chambers for him to conduct in the concept of full transparency, and I will return once you all are done with the item.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we are on item 13.05, the North Florida Resiliency Connection Transmission Process MOU. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you.
I understand we have a couple of presentations.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate that. What I would recommend in process is we have a brief staff presentation that I think can frame the issue. We also have a member of the project team, Mr. Tim Bryant, and others joining us. I would like to offer them an opportunity at the conclusion of staff's presentation to make comments and then take public comment before you deliberate and make a decision.
Okay.
If you're okay with that, we'll proceed.
Sounds like a good process.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to invite Rob to the microphone. I'll cue this up. At your April 24th meeting, you authorized us to work with Gulf Power Company, which is part of the Next Era company, regarding the transmission line that they're going to build from Lake City over toward Jackson County. You shared with us a number of criteria. One of those was that you were concerned about the location of the line on Tram Road in particular in Leon County. We've worked very diligently to address numerous technical issues related to ultimately co-location with our existing transmission lines and worked very intently to work to get the line off of Tram Road. I'm pleased to say I think we've accomplished just about everything you had asked us to, and I'd like to ask Rob to kind of to frame that. But before I do that, let me summarize the main points of the MOU. So the MOU that's in front of you today that we're asking does result in a revised route that will be south of Tram Road, south of the city's spray field. It does require that the city, you, approve the final route within Leon County if co-location occurs. It does involve the replacement of approximately 150 of the city's utility pole structures with modern single-pole structures that will withstand wind speeds of 130 miles per hour. It does envision a potential transmission grid interconnection. It also preserves future circuit expandability for those corridors that we will be sharing, and it provides safety and adequate facility line space. And I realize I've taken probably a lot of what Rob's going to say, but I wanted to say that very succinctly because I think there's a lot packed in here. So, Rob, I'll ask you to clean that up, and then we'll invite our neighbors forward.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, I'm happy to be before you tonight with this MOU. I think it is as the manager said, I think it's a win for the city, for Gulf Power, and for our neighbors along Tram Road. As you might recall, at the April meeting, this was the preferred route that Gulf had proposed for the co-location and the routing of the North Florida Resiliency Connection transmission line. At the right-hand end, the red line did run down Tram Road. Those sections in yellow were those that were contemplated to be co-location with us, and that means putting their transmission line in the same corridor where we have transmission lines already. The MOU that is before you tonight contemplates this route, and the change in this route is you've got Centerville Road there sliding down to the southwest. Instead of going up Centerville Road and then over to Tram Road, the transmission line would continue along what we call the Florida Gas Transmission or FGT pipeline corridor east, along with one of our transmission lines over to Woodville Highway, and then would run adjacent to the FGT corridor going to the east. My map didn't go all the way out to the county line, so Gulf has provided us with this graphic. The red line is the transmission line path that's following the Florida Gas or FGT pipeline, and the blue line is Tram Road. So you can see that it goes, going back to here, it goes south of our spray field, south of some of the neighborhoods out there, and is co-located along that transmission line, or that gas transmission line. As the city manager mentioned, there's some major tenets or terms to the MOU that are before you tonight. This MOU does give the city the right to approve the route in Leon County if there's co-location on any of our transmission corridors. It provides for the physical clearances between the wires and structures for my staff to feel comfortable to operate and maintain our transmission system in a safe and reliable manner. Some coordination issues with transmission line outages and unit outages to ensure that we don't adversely impact our system and our customers. As the manager mentioned, it's got a provision for a joint study for the interconnection, and that is electrically connecting our system to this transmission line, which gives us some enhanced reliability and transactional ability to move power. And one of the provisions there is their transmission line, Gulf's transmission line is going to operate at a different voltage than our lines that are adjacent to it. So if we interconnect, there would have to be a transformer to change the voltage. They've agreed to pay for that transformer if one is needed. As the manager mentioned, some of our facilities that will be rebuilt will be hardened to a wind speed of 130 miles an hour at no cost to the city. It preserves our ability for a future transmission line along that same corridor as we move forward and expand and as we work on the clean energy plan. And then there's some short pieces of the line that is actually property owned by the city. It provides for us granting Gulf the easements they need to be in those sections. A lot of this route that we're in and co-locating is actually owned by the U.S. Forest Service, and we operate under a permit, an authorization permit from the Forest Service. So we would tell the Forest Service that we're okay, assuming the MOU and the ultimate co-location agreements approved with them, with Gulf being in under our permit as well. There are some benefits. We've manager and I have summarized these before, but it provides an interconnection potentially, storm hardening. It helps reduce the environmental impacts as compared to the Gulf getting their own corridor through the forest land and having to clear more land. And it helps us enhance what we call the regional bulk electric system. We're interconnected with Duke Power to the south, Georgia Power to the north. We all impact each other, so the more we can beef up the transmission in this area, the better it is for all the utilities in this area, and especially us. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have before we turn it over to Gulf.
Okay, we're going to let them present, Rob, and then we'll have questions.
Okay.
We'll have public comment and then questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Timothy Bryant, Gulf Power Company, One Energy Place, Pensacola, Florida. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you in this forum. Gulf Power and the City of Tallahassee staff, we've worked tirelessly over the last several weeks to work through and come to a memorandum of understanding that we believe is mutually beneficial. And again, as Rob and the city managers presented tonight, we think we have come to such terms that will be very beneficial to the city and its residents. Again, some of those major tenets of that memorandum of understanding, as we've heard, includes new investment of millions of dollars of infrastructure in the city's electric utility system, the increased reliability through the hardening of approximately 14 miles of transmission lines, and hardening those to 130 miles per hour as previously communicated. The enhanced grid stability that Mr. McGarr had just referenced as well as relates to dealing with major storms and other and hurricanes and issues of that sort. And again, the new transmission interconnect near the Hopkins plant that would allow Gulf Power and/or FPL or any of our NextEra family members to enter into wholesale deals, transaction deals with the city of Tallahassee, and perhaps to lower bills for all of its customers. In addition to that aspect, there's also with this transmission line the opportunities for future solar. As many of you, if not all of you know, FPL and NextEra and Gulf Power, we're leaders in the renewable and solar energy space here in the state of Florida. We've demonstrated that, and with our solar capabilities and with your solar goals and initiatives here in the next few years, this transmission line allows you the opportunities to tap into that aspect of our assets as we help you grow your 100% renewable goals and help you achieve those here in the near future. With your approval of this memorandum of understanding tonight, the Gulf Power Company is committed, and I say again, we are committed to working with your staff to memorialize these details in a co-location agreement. And we'll bring that agreement back before you for your approval and as we've committed before. And within that approval, we've already acknowledged that we will commit and acknowledge that in the event there is co-location with the city of Tallahassee's infrastructure, any route of the project within Leon County, I'll say any route within the project within Leon County, including but not limited to routing related to Tram Road, must be approved by you, the City Commission, with the approval of this memorandum of understanding and the future co-location agreement. So with that, again, thank you again for this opportunity to speak. If you have any questions of me, I will surely answer those in due time. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions of either Rob or Mr. Bryan at this point?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say, great job. This shows how a community comes together and works together, business and residents. We appreciate the advocacy, and we appreciate the professionalism that our staff exhibited in negotiating such a great opportunity. When we last discussed this, we didn't know where this was going to end up, but one thing I knew for sure was that if we didn't give the city manager and staff permission to move forward with negotiating an MOU, we weren't going anywhere. So fortunately, we were able to get that done as a team, and I'm really glad that we're in this great place.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. There are speakers.
Yes, sir.
Treasurer Clerk.
If we'd like to begin with those, the first speaker will be Ray Brown, and then Catherine Deloney. And each speaker will have 3 minutes. There's a light just there to the right of your speaker that'll be green, and it'll turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left.
Thank you all.
And could you give us your name and address?
My name is Ray Brown.
Thank you.
I live at 6452 Mary Lake Court, right off Tram Road. And I'd like to thank the commissioners, Mr. Manager, thank you all for your time and allowing us to come and speak before you. Again, I just want to thank you all for just considering the citizens of the rural county as well in your decision-making. I live out Tram Road, and it's very important to me that we reserve all of the habitat we have out there and just enjoy living out in the rural areas. So I truly thank you all for considering us in your decision and how we're going to handle this matter. And I pray that we will allow it to be at the gas line or through the gas line to where the resilience will flow through. So thank you all so much for everything that you've done. But if you ever get stressed out, you just need to release some stress, ride out Tram Road, and you'll find how beautiful it is out there and how and why we fight so diligently to try to keep the area as it is. So thank you all so much for your time, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Next speaker is Catherine Deloney, and then Carlton Wells.
Commissioners, thank you. I'm way out of my comfort zone. I'm going to make it really short because Ray Brown covered it all. We live at Catherine Deloney, we live at 8811 Tram Road. We're across the street neighbors of Ray, and I represent those in our group. I know I've emailed a lot of you that are in favor of the gas line, and we certainly appreciate all your input. And we know it was hard work to pull it off, and we approve you moving forward with the MOU presented as with the gas line and preserving our area out there. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Next speaker, Carlton Wells, and then Lauren Perlman.
Thank you, Commission. My name is Carlton Wells. I'm at 10865 Tram Road. Learning of the pipeline route yesterday at the open house, I won't say caught me by surprise, but I don't support that route. I appreciate what it's doing for many folks along Tram Road, but it's not doing anything for me. It's moving the transmission line to the south side of my property, and that's unacceptable. The pipeline eventually crosses Tram Road about 2 miles east of me, and so that's totally unacceptable to the property owner that right-of-way is going to cut through. When the commissioners conditioned the route not to include Tram Road, how far off Tram Road did you mean? Beyond the adjacent property owners? A specific distance off Tram Road, such as at least 100 or 300 meters away from the residential property owners? Or what? Please specify the distance, like I mentioned in item 2. It appears FP&L is moving the pipeline as an attempt to satisfy the commission, but not fully address the residential property owners' concerns all along Tram Road, not just in Leon County, but Jefferson County. At the Jefferson County meeting, one property owner claimed he's already been damaged with the threat of the transmission line. He lost a potential buyer of his property. I appreciate the commission looking out for your neighbors in Leon County. Let's also look out for our neighbors in Jefferson County. There's a fiber optic telecommunications line that's buried along Tram Road, but our internet speed is 512K. K, not megabytes. That's barely faster than dial-up. We get no benefit. The high-pressure natural gas line has 3 pipes coming behind our property. We have no natural gas service. We rely on propane delivered, so we get no benefit. NextEra proposed Tram Road as a preferred route, but changed to the route to the pipeline. As mentioned on the other 2 utilities, we get no benefit from that transmission line. So like DOT's criteria along the I-10 route, it must serve the area, and there are no alternative routes. I-10 is an alternative route to the residential property owners along Tram Road. Why must we let state criteria trump the interest of the property owners along Tram Road? With the city's plans to benefit from NextEra for the city's goal to be fossil-free, then factor this in as a benefit and urge I-10 as the preferred route to meet DOT's criteria.
You have about 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. It's a necessary evil for NextEra to exhaust alternative routes, and I appreciate their efforts. To meet one of two to meet the criteria of DOT. Moving the transmission line to the pipeline right-of-way is the lesser of two evils for us and my neighbors on each side of me about 2 or 3 miles each way. It's an evil nevertheless. I appreciate Mayor Daley's recusing himself from this item and at least 2 commissioners voicing their concerns with Tram Road route. Let's
You're
now
at 3
exhaust
minutes.
the pipeline and go to I-10. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Lauren Perlman. She'll be followed by Jerry Deloney.
Hi, good afternoon. Lauren Perlman, 6349 Fitz Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311.
Hey, Lauren.
Hi, thank you. Usually I'm up here for the animal issues and all, but I do want to say this is partly animal issues. I do live off of Tram Road, and we do have a lot of wildlife out there, and it is just awesome. I've been out there now for over 20 years. I really appreciate, just on behalf of all of us, what you have done for those of us who reside in Leon County, a little bit outside of the city. But I went to FSU, I bleed garnet and gold, and Tallahassee is my city. So thank you very much for your support. And I just wanted to tell you that I am strongly in support of moving the high power lines off of Tram Road and back to the pipeline or somewhere else. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. Next speaker.
Jerry Deloney, and he'll be followed by Sean McGlynn.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jerry Deloney, 8811 Tram Road, and I don't oppose the gas line. I'm really proud for you guys and ladies saying we're going to take care of our country neighbors, and I'm sorry for the people in Tram Road and Jefferson County and so that don't have the benefits that I'm going to get from not being able to see the lines. And I just want to say thanks again, and I'm sorry, friends and neighbors.
Thank you, Jerry. Our next speaker.
Sean McGlynn, and then Mike Tomkavitz.
Hey, Sean.
Sean McGlynn, 568 Beverly Court, Tallahassee, Florida, right around the corner. I'm very pleased to be here, and this wonderful city and this governing body. We're also in the middle of the Wakulla Springs Shed, and I'm the director of the Wakulla Springs Alliance. I'm on the board of directors of the Florida Springs Council. I'm on the board of directors of the Florida Water Resource Monitoring Council, and I'm a scientist actively involved in research at Wakulla Springs right now. This area is really right in the center of the Wakulla Springs Shed, and it is also labeled by the geologists with their official big studies as the most vulnerable area you could have possibly picked, and that's Tram Road. That's in the Wakulla Springs Shed. It's just south of the Cody Scarp, which is the area that was the shoreline when that was the coast, when it was the hottest and the biggest storms and the highest sea level in the last global cycle. So the waves and the surf in that area tore up the clay layers, and it made it actually absolutely totally vulnerable. There is no protection at all for the aquifer. And Tram Road is at the bottom of that scarp, at the bottom of the beach. And we've avoided it in the Wakulla Springs Shed, and the maps show that this is an area, it was where the spray field is located, and that was a big problem. We've restored Wakulla Springs. It cost $280 million for a mistake on Tram Road already, and we're avoiding it by co-locating with the pipeline route. The pipeline found this safer route much before we did, and that's a dangerous thing, a gas pipeline it's explosive. They did geotechnical studies. That's a much more stable area where it has clay layers and is protected, and there's much less karst activity, sinkhole activity. That's why that pipeline's located there, and it's good that you're co-locating next to it. Jefferson County is kind of in the next spring shed, the Wassissa, and then further on the Yasilla. They don't have such an aquifer map, so we can't tell you really what's going on over there. But Leon County funded this for our county, and it's a wonderful thing we have this tool. And it has shown that this is a place we need to protect, and y'all are protecting it and protecting Wakulla Springs, which now, due to the pumping all over Florida, is the largest spring in the world. And it's probably the only spring in Florida that will truly be saved. And y'all have really helped by co-locating and doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean, for coming. Next speaker.
Mike Tomkevitz, and then Donald Axelrod, and those are the final two speakers on the item.
Okay, Mike.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mike Tomkowitz of Gray Robinson, and I reside at 2316 Foxborough Way, Tallahassee, Florida, 32309. I'm here on behalf of many of the residents of Tram Road and Joaquina Highway out in Jefferson County, and then many of the other 7 counties that this transmission line runs through. So as a resident of Tallahassee, I'm proud that my city commission has decided to take a stand and try to help a lot of the residents along Tram Road. I think that that's because the city recognizes that there's a synergy between the city residents and the county residents, many of whom who work and spend their monies in Tallahassee and enjoy their weekends in Tallahassee and patronize all the businesses here. That's why I'm also here tonight, because that's also true of many of the folks that live along Joaquina Highway in Jefferson County. I think if you picked one other county where there were a substantial number of folks who were affected by this that also share a very close relationship with the city of Tallahassee, it would be Jefferson County and the residents out there. And right now, the proposed relocation, which is not set in stone, it's not finalized or approved, that does not help them at all. And so I would ask that the city consider also conditioning relocation off of residential corridors in Jefferson County as well to assist those residences. The Gulf Power Company has said numerous times that residences are not going to be affected. That is just objectively false, period, false. And if you want to meet with me privately, I'll explain how that's true, and I'll show you examples of it, and I'll show you why. So I'd ask that you would kindly extend your discretion to try to leverage your co-location agreement to help the Jefferson County residents. I'd also comment that in reading the Memorandum of Understanding, it doesn't require that the road not include Tram Road. It doesn't require that. That is not a condition of the agreement. It says it gives the city the power to approve it at its discretion. So essentially, the city of Tallahassee has the ability to approve the route if they want to. And so the problems with that are that if there's a route that's not something that you like, you could just simply say, we don't want to review it and we aren't going to give our approval or denial. We're just going to roll on down the road. That's, we appreciate you taking a stand, but it's not necessarily a concrete approval or denial by the city of Tallahassee. So we'd ask that it be mandatory that it not include Tram Road, and we'd ask that the city take a stance, yes or no, on it. Just approve it. Don't do it at your discretion. Just review it and make a decision when the final route is selected. Thank you.
Thank you. Donald?
Thank you. Donald Axelrod, 6457 Fitz Lane, Tallahassee, on Lake Weeks, just a stone's throw from Tram Road. And let me put your minds at ease. I'm going to say nothing but positive things. I used to spend a lot of time in this commission chamber. 15 years ago, I was here. Often there were difficult words between me and commissioners. It was a time where the city commission did not consider Leon County residents of equal stature to city residents. And I'm glad you have the foresight, the wisdom to view us as people like you. Our addresses are Tallahassee. We come to Tallahassee as teachers and police, TPD people and attorneys and judges and professors, and we work alongside you. And we much appreciate you taking the view that we are you, and we certainly feel the same. And I'm told by my commissioner, Kristen Dozier, that relations between the city and the county are excellent, and I credit all 12 of you for that. I'm in favor of the MOU. I would say, along with Mike Tomkowitz and others, that I'd love you to extend your circle of compassion to Jefferson County. I'm going to start working with them, and I hope we're allowed to talk to NextEra and see if we can mitigate some of the issues there. I've got to say thank you to Timothy Bryant and NextEra for being flexible on this. I've got to thank Rob McGarrett and Reese Goad and David Byrne for their efforts. I know this was not easy, But again, I'm in favor of the MOU, and thank you again.
Thank you, Donald. Any other speakers? No more speakers? Commissioners, are there any questions, any comments? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Comment.
Okay. Commissioner Matlow?
Well, thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'm glad it looks like we're coming to the best place I think we can get. And I just want to make it clear to some of the residents, we don't have the power to dictate this route. That's not our authority. So what we've asked of the company was, if you want to co-locate with us, help out our neighbors in Leon County where we can. And I think we've come to a good compromise, and they've come to the table, and I think they've satisfied most of our concerns. And I just want to clarify with the city manager so people are aware of exactly what this route means. The route right now is not finalized, but there is a preferred route along the gas pipeline. And what we're asking is, if you are going to co-locate with Tallahassee City Commission lines, it's going to come back to the City Commission to approve that final route before the city agrees to do that.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. So people who are concerned about other routes or final routes, you have the commitment from the City of Tallahassee. We're not going to co-locate unless it avoids that area and is more in line with what the preferred route is now. If we don't co-locate, we can't tell you what's going to happen with the route. It wouldn't be up to our discretion at all. So I just wanted to be clear of what the position is so everybody knows exactly where we are. I appreciate the work of Rob Magera negotiating this and making sure we maintained safety for our crews, as well as being able to preserve our ability to expand to serve our city's needs in the future, which I think was critical. So with that, I make a motion to accept the MOU.
Okay. There's a motion by Commissioner Matlow. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Williams-Cox and Commissioner Bryant. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously 4-0 with the mayor being out of the chamber due to a conflict of interest, a perceived conflict of interest.
Wonderful job. On item number 13.06, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. This is a carryover from the budget workshop earlier today. It involves a recommended amendment to the capital budget for $1.5 million for the Weems Road Pedestrian and Street Safety Project, Project 01022. Robert Wiggin, our resource manager, is here if you have any questions, as well as our city engineer, Steve Schaefer.
Move staff recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions by chance? We got all the information that we were looking for earlier? Excellent. Probably moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox, Commissioner Bryant. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Appreciate it. We are on unagendaed. Well, do we have any other business coming before the City Commission? Wonderful. We're on unagendaed business. Anybody from the public that'd like to speak on an unagendaed item? Do we have any speakers, Mr. Clerk?
I do have a single speaker at this time, Linda Marshall.
Ms. Marshall, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Linda Marshall, and I live outside of the city of Tallahassee, and the reason I'm here is for a resident of the city of Tallahassee. Okay? The city has a utility program that they make loans for people who need water and sewer repairs, and this has nothing to do with their income, only that they own the house. They have good credit with the city of Tallahassee, and we had a city of Tallahassee person call my son's plumbing company, and they needed a water line repaired. And this was at the end of December. It was a very difficult time right then. It's still a very busy time for anybody in the trades business because we have such a shortage of tradesmen. Mm-hmm. And we were busy helping in Panama City and back here. But this young man called us, and we went out to his house. His mother had passed, left him the house, and he needed to get his water line replaced. Well, his aunt said she would help him down there on One Ash Way. And so we gave her the quote, and she said, go ahead and do the water line. And when we got out there, unfortunately, my son went to do the job himself, and he's a plumbing contractor with the city of Tallahassee also. And when he got there, the young man had heard about a city loan program, but he really didn't know too much about it. And my son, who's a contractor, he does plumbing. He doesn't handle the business aspect of dealing with the people. And the young man said, oh, I'm going to get a loan for this. And so my son said, well, you need to, unfortunately, when they did the water, he said, could you come in? The toilet won't flush. He went in there. It was Orangeburg pipe. It was an active sewer collapse. And there was no way of just patching him in. He needed a whole new sewer line. So he already had the tractor there and everything. He says, he called his aunt. His aunt says, oh, I'll help you take care of this. But neither one of them really had any money. They had the $600. We had made them a deal for the water line. They had the $600 for the water line, but they didn't have any more money. And since my son heard loan, well, he thought they had a loan. No one called and asked me. And I said, so later on, I said, when he got back in the office and I got the bill, I said, oh my gosh, they don't have a loan. I went off and I called the loan program, and they said, we don't make loans in the arrears. I said, you don't make loans? How do you handle an emergency? Emergency is not something you plan. It's not a planned event. It's an emergency. It happens without your, vision. And I said, here, these people need this. And the whole replacement of the sewer and the water line together came to $3,500.
You're at about 2.5 minutes with 30 seconds.
I held her check and told her, I said, let me keep checking and see if I could get somebody to change this, because this is kind of a silly rule for people who need emergency services. You can't live with sewer in your yard and you can't flush. And the water line was right adjacent to it too, so it needed a little changing. And we took care of all that, and it passed. It had a permit, but they still owe us. And I told them, I said, before you pay us, let me see if we can help you get the loan. And I've been very busy, but I finally got here. Missed a couple of your meetings, unfortunately. And I said, I'm going to go to the city and see if I can't get some help, because it's not for us. It's actually for them. We're happy to wait and help them out. But, this is kind of too hard a fast rule here.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, let me real quick ask the city manager to comment real quick.
Yes, sir. Ms. Marshall, thank you for coming. I think we should be able to help. We may have to jump through some hoops, but the program you're referencing is one we're really proud of. I haven't had it in a long time, but I know it does provide a lot of relief. Thank you for helping our neighbors. Mr. James Barnes is our Chief Customer Officer. I'm glad he's here. He's the right person. He's standing right behind you. I would like you to work with him, connect us with the owner, and let's bring resolution to this. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
And you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
And thanks for helping your neighbor.
Oh, that's all right. We don't mind.
Mr. Clerk, any other speakers?
I have no other speakers, Mayor.
All right, moving on to the sharing of ideas. I only have one thing. I would like to ask Mr. Wayne Tedder to please come forward for a special introduction.
Uh-oh, what'd you do, Wayne?
Not at all. This is great news.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. If you haven't seen a new face around City Hall today, I think some of you already met this lady. I want to introduce you to our new Underground Utilities and Public Infrastructure General Manager, Ms. Renetta Marshall. We want to welcome her to our team. We want to welcome her to our city family. She comes with a great deal of experience and a lot of accolades from people that have worked with her across the state. So we just want to welcome her to our team and give this time to just very quickly introduce her to you.
Great. Renata, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission. It's a pleasure to be here. It's my third day on the job, and all the accolades that I've heard about the city are definitely true. So it's my pleasure, and good to meet each and every one of you. Thank you.
I only have one question. Are you coming back for day 4?
Yes, sir.
Definitely. You hesitated.
No, welcome. We're honored and privileged to have you join the family.
Absolutely.
Yes, welcome on board.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sharing of ideas. We'll start with you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and just work our way down.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to bring to the Commission's attention that I thought the representative from, who are you representing, Tim? Spin. Made some excellent recommendations, and I, with the support of the Commission, I would like to have staff consider those, and that is to limit the number of companies that we consider for the pilot And the reason for that is that, I mean, if we had 5 companies and they each brought in 1,000 scooters, we've got 5,000 scooters. You're suggesting 3?
No, we've already limited.
Oh, we did limit it to 3?
We're at 3
Oh, I
companies
missed
and
that.
no more than 999
99,
scooters.
right.
That's right. I missed that. I apologize for that.
Okay.
But the other point was the 6-month pilot instead of the 3-month. I think that makes sense. 3 months, and especially starting in July. Conditions, of course, as you all know, in Tallahassee are much different in July than they are August going forward when the students are back in town and the weather changes. And so I would like for us to consider the 6-month pilot rather than the 3-month. And that would give us more information, I think, to make a more sound decision on. So I'd like to propose that, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the table for consideration for a 6-month pilot instead of a 3-month pilot. Is there a second to that motion?
I have a question for staff.
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, there's a second for discussion. Commissioner Matlow, you're recognized.
In the ordinance that was read in today, it specifically has the 3 months. So what would that do? Well, I'm fine with extending it. I just don't know how that would affect the ordinance that we just
Well,
passed.
if you would like to do that, we can bring it back with that. It would just be, we would just put an
Delay.
A on it, show that it was amended by
Okay.
your direction at this
Okay.
meeting. But I thought the reason why we did the 3 months was to kind of get it done pretty quickly so that we could get the data, assess it, and then see if that was something that we wanted to do or not. That was the reason for the shorter length, but obviously your will is what we will put in. I don't know if staff has additional comments on that 3 months.
I think that's adequate, Madam Attorney.
3 months?
So I think where I am right now, I want to think about it a little bit farther before automatically going to 6. And even so, we can design the MOUs, I'm sure, to have a 3-month, 3-month trial with a 3-month extension, if we wanted to, and leave that wide open.
Well, that would require a change of the ordinance.
We can
because the ordinance provides
change the
for it
ordinance. Absolutely. I don't know if I'm ready to.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we would have to bring it back anyway, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. You can always do another ordinance if you decide you want to extend it.
I'm kind of comfortable right now with just 3 months, and then let's go from there. And Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I'm with you, Mayor. I'm comfortable with the 3 months because the reason was because times are slower right now. And when students come back, traffic will increase. I thought the goal was to do it during the summertime when traffic was lighter. And if we have to go through the ordinance and bring it back again, doesn't that delay the start of the pilot until we have the ordinance in place? I'm looking at Madam Attorney.
No. Well, whatever you want, we can make happen for that 3-month period. But I think you're right. The rationale behind the 3 months was it was somewhat of a slower time. The students weren't here. We have an opportunity to assess the data within that 3 months and then decide if you wanted to do something else or how you wanted to handle the
Well,
program.
Mr. Mayor, I'll withdraw the motion, but I hope that we would stay open to the 3-month extension if after the end of those 3 months, we don't have the data that we necessarily need to have to make that decision. Okay, I'll withdraw the motion.
Mr. Manager?
If I could add a comment along those lines, just for everybody's benefit, I think the reevaluation discussion would need to be in September. As the Madam Attorney indicated, that this would be another process, I believe taking 2 meetings, another introduction and another public hearing. So we'll be mindful, I'll put that on the radar, that if we wish to extend or make a change in the pilot format, that we would do that in September in the 2 meetings in September.
The city will be receiving data on a periodic basis throughout this pilot program.
Right, okay. Thank you,
Anything else,
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
That was it for me.
Commissioner Matlow?
Yeah, thank you. I just had a quick, insight from our earlier meeting today. We always get caught up in these workshops, and a lot takes place, and then we're out the door before we sometimes really get to communicate a lot on issues that were important. I heard a lot of things that I kind of just wanted to talk more about with my colleagues, but because we had something pressing, we always kind of stuck in that cycle. So I just wanted to see if there was openness to this, of just scheduling just a meeting outside of any particular agenda and noticing it, where we can just kind of get together and toss those ideas and concerns off of each other without making any motions, without making any decisions, invite the press, but notice the meeting, much like the chairs and mayors committee, and just work together to see where we're at when we're not trying to decide on important issues in the moment.
I think it's a great idea. No agenda, no expectation for an outcome, just an opportunity to sit around.
Yep.
I think it's great. Over the summer, next week or two, next month or two?
Yeah, I mean,
before break?
I think if our aides communicate with the attorney and make sure it's noticed, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Yes.
If whoever's willing, if we're all willing?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Great idea.
Let's do it.
That's all I got.
Cool. Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Just one item. I've received some, and I've mentioned this to our city attorney. Plastic straws has risen to the top of some folks' view. And I wanted to just put it out here in the open forum that all over the state, and we're looking at alternatives to using plastic straws, no straws or paper straws. And, we talked about this a few months ago. We mentioned it during the legislative session that Dr. Liz Hollifield was working on a pilot at Sale High School to try to replace all of the plastic straws there with paper straws. So I want to kind of put that on our radar to look at what can we do now that the legislature wanted to do something different, but the governor vetoed it. So I think we need to start looking at what we're going to want to do in the city of Tallahassee regarding plastic straws, going to a different type of straw or no straw, or making sure that restaurants don't just give out plastic straws. They have to be asked for something to try to reduce the number of plastic straws that are ending up in our environment and harming our animals.
Great. Commissioner Bryant.
Yes, let me take this opportunity to thank staff. We, as commissioners, get many citizen inquiries, concerns, accolades, and it all goes back to the work that's being done by the people who work here from day to day. So I just want to take this opportunity to say to them how much we appreciate what you do. Because without you, most of us would probably be lost. I give the mayor the benefit of the doubt. But the rest of us, well, let me get the mayor pro tem, okay? But we sincerely appreciate your responsiveness to concerns that we bring before you that are brought to us by the citizens of this community.
Excellent. Commissioner Matlow, back to you for one more.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Commissioner Williams-Cox's idea where at our restaurants, Sustainable Tallahassee had a group called Green for Tally that outreached to restaurants to try to get them to move away from plastic straws and move into paper alternatives. We were able to do that. I think it was a good initiative. There's always concern about the cost and moving away from cheaper items, but I think an easy thing for everybody to say is we're going to give them out by request, and that's what a good starting point, I think, to wade into that. So I'd like to see us look into something like that in the future. We can flesh it out or have it brought back. So.
Mayor and Commissioners, would you like for me to provide you a white paper on sort of what other jurisdictions are doing?
That would be great.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to know what's going on. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention the fact that this community celebrated the life of Sandy Dallenberg this afternoon with at a family reception on yesterday evening and a service at Ruby Diamond Auditorium today. As you all know, Sandy was a former legislator here in the state of Florida, dean of the College of Law at Florida State University, and past president of the Florida Bar Association. And with his recent passing, we certainly have lost a giant, but his legacy will live on, and we want to offer condolences to his wife, Patsy Palmer, and the Dallenberg family for their loss at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great day in Tallahassee. We had an incredible budget workshop this morning. We had a wonderful meeting this afternoon. With no other business before the City Commission, we are adjourned.